the way going for Rogue instead.
All right, we're going to hop into Vault of the Wardens, where some of the world's, World of Azeroth anyway, most vicious criminals are kept, and no doubt will end up, unfortunately, if we keep hunting. So, gentlemen, take it away.
Do we have a role play jar? Because I think you'd have to throw some money in there now. Excited to see this double rogue. We haven't seen that in quite some time. I think it was actually the first week that we did see it. But Trekkie, this trash pool can be relatively dangerous pulling up to the mini boss.
Yeah, it's a Sanguine and a Quaking, however. So we saw in the previous series as well, honestly, doing that pull with the mini boss as well, Team Bigpull. Kind of just, actually didn't see it. They did the same pull, actually, and just a little bit faster. They went right, well, honestly, went for the left route, actually.
Yeah, Team Bigpull, though, melting through, honestly needs to catch up at this point. They're doing a pretty clean job, but falling slightly behind. Team Bigpull already up on the stairs, starting to pull. It gets a little bit more dangerous as you do actually get up the stairs here, because you're going to actually have some of those fel-infused mobs, and we've actually seen teams wipe before on these when they actually do get that metamorphosis going. They have that I-beam. You need to interrupt it. If you don't, it can just spell a full team wipe. The damage that comes out of that, even if it's not tyrannical, is absolutely insane.
Yeah, the Demon Hunters either go into meta form, either go into Vengeance or Havoc, and those Vengeance Demon Hunters you need to interrupt, and the Havoc ones you can't interrupt with normal interrupt style, so you need a hard CC on that, either be pushed back. A grip should work as well. And honestly, right now, actually making up a lot of time here. They were a little bit later on Glaviana, but now they're actually ahead and pulling that last trash pack before the boss.
And Team Bigpull activating that cheat death, though, already on one of their rogues. Now, this is one of those packs that can get a little bit dicey if you don't have the correct interrupts. A nice Scorpion Scraps, going to get everything grouped up here. That's going to allow the rogues to get some serious damage out. We've actually seen this BM Hunter just doing consistent damage throughout the entirety. Stomp going to be really strong here from that BM, but honestly has caught up at this point, and in a resounding fashion, actually having more percentage up on the board for the trash as they are on the same pack.
Yeah, they're having a little bit of issue with the Sanguine here, healing some of the caster ads are interrupted instantly. Team Bigpull having kiting around in that room right before, meanwhile, honestly, is kiting towards the boss, which I really like, because that means that they can enable the boss. They're already on the boss instead. Team Bigpull is going to have to send someone over and trigger that RP. So now, honestly, pulling Tyrathian and just being a little bit ahead right now. We're having a little bit of the RP already happened for Team Bigpull.
Yeah,
there we go.
Very clearly, though, honestly, starting to take that lead. So maybe we won't see EU finish on top this time around. And we already know that, honestly, with this Warlock can get insane single target damage out. But let's talk about the mechanics that the boss can actually do. Already, we are going to see Tyrathian get that metamorphosis going. This will happen throughout the duration of the fight into both Havoc and Vengeance. And that's going to create a whole bunch of things that everyone needs to deal with. One of the big things is the tank needs to be popping their active mitigation at the right time so the boss does not actually get a bubble, and you can already see the chain moving across the map. If anyone gets hit by that, that is going to spell death.
Yeah, when he goes into Vengeance form, he throws it around his glaives, and they're gonna start going around the room. We had a little bit of a difference in HP as well when he actually entered that form, and Team Bigpull a little bit later that happened, and it's actually very fortunate too for them, because when he goes into Vengeance form, he also takes less damage. We're gonna see this phase be a little bit longer than when he goes into Havoc form instead, which will make him do so much more damage and be a lot more lethal.
Yeah, we've already seen too in the last series that we watched, the first series of the day, teams not getting their kicks going the correct way, and that can just be a very easy wipe here, especially on a Tyrannical Keystone.
Right now we see the Vengeance Havoc form actually, and it just does so much pulsing AoE damage here. The healer having a hard time keeping up. There we see Hatred. Needs to make sure that you speed out of that, as the Paladin do end up doing that too. Now he's gonna get up to that. That beam is gonna. They need to move the boss a little bit there as well, and they're just having a little bit of issue. They're actually just staying in their rogues, juicing their Cloak of Shadows, and just going through it.
Yeah, weird positioning though all around. We already saw, honestly, with positioning that looked really good earlier on. You see the Warlock actually using his demonic portal to portal right through it, never having to touch it. But it's going to be Nib right now who's just pulling ahead, and Nib has just been the most insane rogue in this tournament. We saw the last when they actually qualified, and now we're going to see it again today. Nib just doing insane damage no matter what the situation is. This is the easy rogue to beat in this tournament. Honestly, going to be able to take down Tarathian, but Bigpull just slightly behind them, really catching up a lot on the boss, but they have some trash to catch up to as well. As we see, honestly, charge through this impact right now to get to the Imp Mother. Team Bigpull should be able to get Tarathian down.
Yeah, Bigpull had a little bit of issues there as well. They got both of the rogues actually cornered on the wrong side of that chain, and they having Shadow Step, one of them having it on cooldown, have to just run out. Made them lose a lot of couple of very important seconds, and we see the teams are being relatively close. Honestly, a little bit ahead now in Imp Mother, but it's all going to come down to the bosses. As we mentioned before, there's just a ton of bosses doing Tyrannical. That is so much health back to back after each other.
And Team Bigpull, I was going to say that they were doing that pull very impressively, but they end up losing 2 of their members when they actually get up to the Imp Mother.
Yeah, that's pretty dangerous for them as well. It's not really very bad trash, but they were so far behind. And now they're being a little bit lucky with honestly having bad luck with this elevator going upwards instead of downwards. So they still haven't killed the Imp Mother though, so the timing of this elevator should be the same. So if they go hurry up and Avalanche Potion, they should be able to get it down there fast enough.
Yeah, elevators being the only RNG that you do have to worry about in Legion. Honestly, with 81% on the board, already pulling Inquisitor, I think that's the big thing to look at. Team Bigpull is lagging in that trash department. Still though, Buffy is going to be down. Honestly, now working on the Inquisitor Trekkie, we see that Sap Soul already going out.
Yeah, Sap Soul as the debuff puts it on everyone in a raid group, and you kind of want to use some ability that isn't very important or doesn't really have a cooldown, or a proccable cooldown rather instead. Team Bigpull now having that Hunter Rest. I'm not sure what caused that delay, but they are all down now, and they should be pulling the boss momentarily.
Yeah, this gets a little bit out of hand here with the Inquisitors. So one thing to notice is on the side of honestly, they don't have that Blood Death Knight tank. The thing that's really nice about the Blood Death Knight is you can actually run in and he can just grip all of the adds to you, so it's pretty easy to deal with. Sometimes when you see the Guardian Druid, you'll actually see them pull the boss up into the corner and try to line of sight.
Yeah, especially on this pack we're seeing from Ominous too, with those Mogo, just being able to have those grips there, getting all together. We saw instead 2 times Typhoons come out from Honesty just to get them a little bit more clumped up so that you can have very effective AoE there, especially from that rogue, just being able to cleave them at all times, getting those extra combo points as well. But now, almost dealing with all this trash, they aren't really that, they're a little bit annoying, but they aren't all that dangerous, throwing out those rocks a little bit. As long as you don't get disoriented, this pack isn't all that dangerous, it's just really, really annoying.
And I'm just having a flashback right now. I ran this dungeon with Jack before we actually headed over here. I was playing on my Moonkin and he was playing as a Disc Priest, and he gripped me in and we actually pulled the dogs down, but we're not going to see any simple errors like that coming in from Honestly as they get to this next pack of adds. And having that Moonkin here going to be great, can do things like Starfall to deal with the adds very quickly. You need to keep an eye on that eye though as well, because if you don't, that will cause that disorient.
Yeah, and those technicians that spawn here, Shadow Moon, they got the Orc doors here, and they just need to make sure that they have these adds interrupted and stunned so they don't get the cast off, because it's going to be very dangerous. Meanwhile, Team Bigpull having the same one as their second door, but their first door was actually Shaw, which is very easy to deal with because generally there's just a little bit of AoE damage, a little bit of burst damage comes up afterwards. But
I really think probably the Quellins is the most difficult to deal with, if I had to pick one to say hey, this is definitively the most difficult. But honestly, they already dealt with that. They're dealing with this Sap expertly as well, and the Inquisitor will fall down very shortly here. Team Bigpull lagging by about 20%.
Yeah, relatively close still. Honestly, did pull it a little bit faster, but now also Bigpull having 2 deaths. It's going to be interesting to see if we see something we saw in the last series where they go for, was it Ash Golem instead of...
Yeah, so they basically, but they killed the same trash as if they were going to Glazer, and Premonition, then they kill that trash, and then they actually run over, pull Ash Golem first, most likely to just have better CD management to actually really burst Ash Golem down, then get over to Glazer and just deal with that with no cooldowns, get through that boss, and then when they actually do get to Cordana, waiting for them at the end of the dungeon, all of their cooldowns will be back. We'll have to see if Bigpull or Honestly employ a strategy like that. Honestly, still in the driver's seat here, going to be pulling that Shavarin, and we've seen them do weird stuff in the past. Like, this is the type of team where if they pulled the Meteor boss, I wouldn't be that surprised. burst, like if they pull that meteor mini boss, like they do weird things every now and then, but you can tell that they're very well practiced. It comes back to things that we saw in Cathedral of Eternal Night as well, using the Warlock to just kite that ad around, keep getting that haste buff. So this team already has been a team to innovate quite a lot, but they're going to go with that cookie cutter strategy right now and actually pull Glazer first, and that's what we typically do expect.
Yeah, we're going to be interested to see if they manage to do it in 1 or 2 phases though, because we saw in the previous series that it buys you so much time. Just like in Neltharian's Lair 2, if you can skip one of those phases when the boss goes immune, it buys you an incredible amount of time. And as we can see on the percentage on all the trash, both teams are basically done now. They just have 2 more bosses to go, a little bit of trash, and then the last boss. Now, they're on Glazer, the big eye boss, and we're soon going to go into the statue phase where you're going to beam him with his own laser basically and make him start taking extra damage.
Yeah, it's like one of those mornings when you actually do look in the mirror before you head into work and you realize that you picked a jacket that Blizzard wouldn't let you wear on stream. That'll definitely burst your bubble. Now Glazer in that eye beam phase, they want to be able to get down this mirror in time, and then it looks like everything else is in place, so it should be shooting right back at him. Bam, he's right out of there now. They want to get that damage going yet again. One of the big things, wow, we almost see Mayode go down there. One of the big things we were talking about though, Trekkie, is these balls that are actually shooting all about the map. And one of the big things with that is it will deal damage to you and actually split if it hits you as a player, but it also will do a small amount of damage to Glazer himself. The real thing though is trying to decide if you actually do want to invest that little bit of damage to target Glazer, get that additional damage onto the board. I personally don't think it's the most important thing to do. I think living is way more important, and making sure that you don't get hit by those balls, because the amount of damage it does is never going to compete with the 1.75 million damage that Nib can pump out, for example.
Yeah, and we see Glazer here now just being a little bit... He should be able to kill it. Yeah, they do kill it before that second phase, so Team Bigpull should be able to pull off the same. We've seen them about the same amount of damage on both the bosses before that, but as you said, it's very dangerous living and moving this boss all the time, so just playing it safe here, making sure that they do hit the boss quite a bit, as you can see with those arcane explosion-like effects happen all the time without actually damaging the players.
Yeah, Team Bigpull doing it expertly here too, somewhat closing the gap. They've caught up a little bit on trash, but having that 99%, you've pretty much overpulled in a sense, because that you definitely have to pull at least the mob in front of the door to actually get to Cordana. If they mess up at all, though, when they are in that dark area, the super spooky area inside Vault of the Wardens, and pull any additional trash, that's just going to add so much time to their board. Now jumping on board with Honestly, you can see that they are on Ash Golem. He's inside of an ice cube, if you will. The main thing to that is he is brittle, so he's going to be taking additional damage while he is inside of this effect, and most likely you're going to see some serious cooldowns get invested to just burn him down quickly. Actually, taking a look at them right now, though, it doesn't look like they're using too many DPS cooldowns here, probably because they actually did pull Glazer first.
It's interesting to see all 3 druids at exactly the same amount of DPS, basically. We have representation from both Rasta Druid, Balance, and Guardian Druids doing about the same damage. In Honestly's corner, though, they don't have that many immunities to soak up all these fires. They do have that one rogue, which, as you can see, he actually ended up running over there, but Pump's having to get a few of those stacks. Even the Warlock taking some. We saw the rest of the Druid take some too, just to make sure that you clean up the room, so that when those fire ads spawn, they do not end up getting empowered and explode because of that fire just creeping onto them.
Yeah, this is one of those fights, though, where it's really just going to be a DPS race. I think it's pretty inexcusable to mess up on mechanics on this one in particular. Like, you just need to be going quickly as possible to try to get to Cordana, but all of a sudden, Team Bigpull just going to pull ahead here. Honestly, slightly lagging behind. I think the big thing is you don't have those cooldowns coming in from your Moonkit, and all of a sudden just spike damage coming out, and the healer going to go down for Honestly. Battle Res instantly going to come out. Mayode still going to be low. They need to get him up quickly. Ash Golem again going to be in brittle for them. This is their opportunity to catch up, but he is already out. They do pull slightly ahead in that brittle phase, but Team Bigpull should be able to get one going here as well and just be able to down the boss. Honestly, now at 12%, Team Bigpull at 15%, just slightly behind them. They only need to pull that last baddie right in front of Cordana to be able to swing those gates open and try to complete this dungeon. Team Bigpull looking really strong here, closing this one out, and Brittle just absolutely going to melt as honestly runs down to the spooky room.
Yeah, we see literally just a few seconds difference between these teams. We have Bigpull now having the Brittle phase and finishing the boss off. Now, Bigpull has 2 times Rogue, so they do have 2 Shrouds as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them skip past, honestly doing the same, but they do have that Warlock who does not have his own immunity or invisibility. So we're having the Shroud go off and just running past there too.
The question is, what are they actually going to use to get past the trash inside of this room? Because they don't really need to be pulling too much here. It's not teaming, so there isn't any crazy math. They just have to get one pull going in front of that door. Team Bigpull, on the other hand, if they mess it, like, this is quaking. This is one of those affixes that can actually make stealthing a little bit trickier. You can actually have mistakes go down here. Honestly, going to jump down and pull this first pack of spiders, this is a really easy one to deal with. Only thing that they really need to worry about is going to be the Sanguine. Team Bigpull's main concern. Oh, did he actually? Okay, gonna actually use a little bit of Cooley there to make sure that he does live. Expect to see Meteor Potion come out at that point. Guess he didn't have it available to him. I was looking over at Team Bigpull there. Honestly, just needs to do this pull right. They want to make sure that they don't pull anything extra here, and Team Bigpull, even with that 99%, they're still going for these spiders. It's very inefficient. If they actually did take advantage of having the 2 rogues, maybe even use an Invispot and only do that 1 pull, it would have been exactly what they needed to catch up with this. Now, honestly, should be able to pull slightly ahead and pull that boss first. There is a slight amount of RP that they want to get started on as well.
Yeah, honestly, you have to pull this little trash mob in order for the door to open up. So Team Bigpull kind of try to skip as much of that as possible. Honestly, having a little bit of issues with the Warlock not being able to actually stealth through there, so he died and ended up just dressing him back up. Team Bigpull, however, having 2 deaths, 1 death and 1 cheat death proccing, however, on their pull. They didn't seem like this pull went their way at all here.
And this is one of the best teams in the EU, and honestly looks like they're going to be able to just pull ahead.
Bigpull still stuck in combat and having to, I'm not quite sure what that happened there, but the mobs are still in combat with them, so they can't just outrun this either. They have to start pulling.
They just didn't even need the percentage. It was so inefficient. They really looked like they were going to be able to pull ahead, especially with the damage that they've been putting out on the bosses. Cordana already going to be pulled for, honestly, this is just their game to throw now. They are so close to actually receiving their loot, going up in the series against one of the best teams in the EU, and Team Bigpull was ahead on trash. They only needed to pull that 1 mob for the percentage that it gives, and it's more than the 1% that they needed, but it was mainly just to open the door, and Team Bigpull here still actually trying to run back to their corpses. Need to figure it out. It looks like we are actually going to see the Paladin get a mass res going here. We'll have to see if they can all get up, but we should just look at honestly, because it looks like they should be able to close this one out, and the Balanced Druid also is going to have major cooldowns. You can see jumping up on the damage meter, doing about 2 million DPS, a strong opener from the Rogue as well. Trekkie, what mechanics do they need to be keeping an eye on?
So honestly, these needs to deal with just DPSing the boss now down to like 40% before, because now they do have the orb, so they can see. They're gonna try to get rid of these purple zones on the ground. But up till this point, up till 40%, not really much is gonna happen. Those purple pools actually wasn't really big on the side there. They're gonna make sure that they take control over it so that it doesn't grow out of control. Meanwhile, the tank just needs to make sure that he doesn't get punted off, but that charge back from the Druid is just not really have any issues dealing with that as long as you don't stand very, very close to the edge, which you don't really want to do. And now we're going to see almost 40% here. A little bit worried with those pools still on the ground there, but you can kind of delay where you're running during that creeping doom, which is going to come spawning right now, and they're just going to have to run around accordingly here.
And they did a great job with the poopy on the floor as well. You're really seeing them not opting into the throw game as much, but just having it onto their tank. Their tank going to be able to clean up the last spot of it right now, and looking really good here. Just need to make sure they don't get hit by the wall.
Yeah, they have a little bit of a tricky situation here. They have to get all the way over to the corner now, and they should be able to do it right there. That was actually getting really... they got really cornered there, up there, while Team Bigpull is just pulling the boss now and coming... just getting that light back out again.
One of my favorite things about the Warlock from honestly is his use of that Burning Rush. Really is great at using it, not scared to use it as well. A lot of trust in the healer. Like there, you actually see it now too. sometimes I think that Warler actually has higher uptime on his Burning Rush than his dots. Just staying in it for long periods of time. And now they are going to be back onto Cordana Felsung, trying to get that last bit of damage needed. Team Bigpull just getting their pull going. I don't think that they've actually hit the intermission yet. They are melting Cordana currently, getting her around to 50% health, waiting to actually see that phase.
Honestly, only having another 10% now. The last few percent can be getting kind of sticky because you have a lot of you need to do a lot of damage. And now she starts spawning those walls again. So if you're not careful, you don't kill it fast enough. There we go. She does go down, and honestly, it takes the first game.
You just throw up the dots, and you just get hit by the walls. You just let the dots do the work for you. But please, somebody show me the loot. Honestly, well deserved.
Yeah, well played by the Australia-New Zealand team. You know, people are coming in and saying, well, you know, in the finals, we'll see Raider.io versus Premonition, and Australia-New Zealand saying, well, now hold up, because we're going to come in here and do some work, and taking a win off of a European team.